What's up, y'all? Sparta here. I want to do a video recording comparison between the LG V20 and the V60 to basically show the improvements between like the quality and what you can do in terms of capability wise between the two. So I'm gonna be recording this in 21:9 manual mode, 1080p 60 on both. So yeah, let's get into this. So off the bat, this is the LG V20. I'm gonna be starting with the V20 and then going to the V60, cutting in between clips like that. So I just want to let you guys know that too. So yeah, let's get into this. So as you guys can see, the V20 is still pretty good in terms of like keeping it pretty stable, looking pretty nice. Nothing is bad in terms of that. I turn on the wind noise filter, it will do a better job of filtering out wind and stuff like that. The mics are still great on here, and there's really nothing that I would say is bad about that. So where does it come in that the V60 does better? And I guess I will start that now to show you guys. Alright, so one thing you guys can definitely see right now is that colors are more pronounced and stuff like that. It does indeed look better in that regards. I don't have like HDR10 plus on because back when I tried to do this earlier, it made the image look a bit hazy, so I just in like my video editor and stuff like that, Power Director doesn't really support HDR10 plus content like that, so I guess I'm not going to be using that for the foreseeable future unless I'm just uploading directly from the phone. But yeah, the image is definitely more pronounced. You can zoom in like that, as you guys can see. That definitely does look decent. Nothing I would say is like bad or anything like that, especially for a 1080p image. I am using steady record, and it is very smooth. The one thing on here that is different from the V20 is that the V20 can't record 1080p 60 and have steady record on. It has to go down to 30 frames per second. So just keep that in mind as well. You don't get the ability to direct the mics in manual mode for whatever reason. It's kind of whack. It's kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. I won't necessarily say it's that big of a deal breaker for me personally, especially since the mics are as good as they are. So yeah, just keep that in mind if that's something you definitely value. Alright, back to the V20. And another thing that you'll definitely be able to notice is that you can't, while in manual mode, switch from the regular camera to the wide angle. You can do it in you're doing an auto, and the problem is you can't change it, mainly because the wide angle doesn't support 60 frames per second video. It only goes to 4K 30 and stuff like that, which kind of sucks, honestly. But since I'm not really going to be using it for that, the wide angle is basically just going to be used for photos. It's not that big of a deal for me personally. Yeah, this is still pretty nice. It's hard to see the screen since I'm out in bright sunlight on the V20, but it's still good enough. I wouldn't say it's horrendous. I wouldn't say it's unseeable, but depending on where you are in terms of sunlight, this may be something I would advise. That I would say is definitely an upgrade going to the V60, is that you'll be able to see the screen way better in bright sunlight compared to the V20. Alright, so back to the V60 here, and as you guys can see, it's looking a bit more vivid. I would say it's something that is indeed nice. The one thing that I don't really like, I wish it would just stay toggled on, is the wind noise filter on both phones. They both shut off after you stop using the manual mode, after you exit the camera. I wish that would just stay on, or it can be toggling the settings to turn on automatically when you get into the phone or whatever, but it's fine, it's whatever. Not really a big deal. The steady recording on 60 frames per second is definitely appreciated, because you guys can see I'm walking and there's not nearly as much shake. I'll go back to the V20 just to show you guys real quick. So as you guys can see, I'm using the V20 right now, and as you guys can see, there's a considerable more amount of shake because you can't use steady recording 60 frames per second on the V20. And that's the limitations of, the Snapdragon 820. You can't really do anything about that. It's not really a fault of the V20 in itself, but it's just something I would definitely say is an upgrade, a considerable upgrade, if you want to do more handy cam footage with your hand and stuff like that, and not necessarily have to rely on a tripod. It's good enough on the V60 to be able to do that, especially if you have steady hands. Back to the V60, and this is something you could do on both phones. You can adjust pretty much every single setting in the manual mode live while you're using the phone. So say you want your scene to look a little bit warmer, you can adjust the white balance, and as you guys can see, it looks a little bit more sepia toned rather than looking cool like if I were to do that right here. You can do that on both phones. It works just fine, and you can set it back to auto so it just looks like the scene would in real life, I guess. And it's a very nice touch to have that. Phones like the Note 10 do indeed have a manual video mode, but the problem is that you can't adjust white balance and you can't adjust focus while you're doing it. So it's kind of a bad deal there, but it's something that still is appreciated to have and good to have if you don't necessarily have a LG V series phone on hand. Coming back to the V20 though, as you guys can see, I'm here on this more wide look right here, looking at this mini pond. I wouldn't necessarily call it a lake. And then I go to the wide view while recording, and it looks very nice. It's a nice look. Despite the fact that this is an 8 megapixel wide angle sensor, it's not really gimped in terms of quality. It still looks pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best thing out there anymore, but it's still good enough in my personal opinion. So let me go back to the V60 real quick and show you guys the difference in how it looks in terms of quality. It honestly looks really nice, really clean. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's that big of a difference just looking right now, and I'm getting all these notifications right now, but it's indeed something that is appreciated, and especially since you could use the steady record, it's very nice. But what you can do, rather than being able to use the wide angle, you can zoom in with the main sensor, and obviously it's not going to look that great, because at the end of the day, even if you're using a telephoto lens, it's going to be a bad zoom, but it's very nice nonetheless and very appreciated. I don't think I'm going to go down there because the loon is kind of not really a great bird to be by. So yeah, overall though, I think in between the two, I would still say the V60 is a definite improvement and upgrade if you're still using a V20 for video recording and stuff like that. The stuff that you're able to do now compared to what you're able to do on the Snapdragon 820 with the V20 is definitely an upgrade. You can get way more stuff done, and stuff just overall looks better. I guess I'll just go a little bit down this hill just so you guys can see more of how the steady record works in terms of like making sure it doesn't shake so much. So I don't know what I was about to say. I'll interchange between the V20 and 60 as I've been doing. So this is V60. I'm walking down. As you guys can see, there's very minimal shake. Back to the V20. There's a considerable more amount of shake. Like, it's not horrendous or anything like that, but it's definitely noticeable. And I'll go back to the V60 here. As you guys can see, there's way less shake. It's a very substantial amount of like shake reduction, and that's something that's very nice with the V60 here. I would say it's a definite improvement, and if you guys really do enjoy that, I would definitely say this is something that I would consider when you're going from V20 to V60. So that's all I really wanted to do for this video here. I'm going to do a more in-depth look at like camera performance and stuff like that. I already took a whole bunch of shots between the two. So I'm going to do that in a separate video. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, whatever time of day it is in your area. Have a good one. And I guess I'll get one more landscape shot between the V20 and V60 here. So let's do that. Here's the V60. Here's the V20 going to the wide angle, and that looks really nice. I guess I'll do a bit of a pan shot too. So let me go back into regular. Oh, and of course, all the wind wants to come right now. Do a little circular shot right here. Back on the V60, do the same deal. And that's pretty much as far as this video goes, guys. Thanks again for the support. Have a good one.